After receiving a weird package from his best friend Kyle, Tom goes through a world of hell, just from a CD, just from a computer. One simple game flips his life, as it did many others. A virtual world becomes a real hell, an onslaught to the innocent and child game Sonic. Sonic.exe is the CD version of the original Sonic game, the very first one, although it seems like a hacked, bugged out version, or maybe somebody else made a copy of the game who weren't Sega. This story seems to adapt a bunch of ideas from others, like Squid with Suicide, Ben, and Suicide Mouse. It could just be a coincidence, but eventually we'll see. So what is the basic story of Sonic.exe? Well, it goes as this. A big Sonic the Hedgehog fan receives mail from his friend while playing Sonic Unleashed. Tom goes and checks the mail. Inside is a letter from his best friend, which states,
Tom, I can't take it anymore. I had to get rid of this thing, somehow before it was too late. I was hoping you'd do it for me. I can't do it. He's after me. And if you don't destroy this CD, he'll come after you too. He's too fast for me. Please, Tom, destroy this godforsaken disc before he comes after you too. It's too late for me. Destroy the disc and you'll destroy him. But do it quick, otherwise he'll catch you. Please don't play the game. It's what he wants. Just destroy it. Please. Kyle.
Now the letter itself seems alright, but he's not so convincing about this disc, unless it's a case of Smile Dog and he needs to share this disc and people to view it. I say this letter probably pulls at Tom's curiosity strings and would decide to play it. I mean, who would believe such a thing? Tom decides to play the game, but the disc is a blank disc with only the name written in black marker. Doesn't that remind you of Ben and the Haunted Majora's Mask cartridge? So Tom puts the game on. The game looks normal until the title screen has a split-second image change of a more darker and evil version. There's even the numbers 666 there, which could be took from the idea of username colon 666, but I highly doubt it, as 666 is a universal thing that's connected with the devil and evil itself. What I want to know is how Tom can recall such detailed stuff over a split second of seeing the image. He only writes about seeing it once and the way the game goes on and the story too. I don't have a positive feeling he saw the picture again. So let me put a picture up of the same Sonic title screen that Tom saw, and can you recall it perfectly or not? The picture goes as follows. The sky had darkened, the title emblem was rusted and ruined, the Sega 1991 sign was now turned into Sega 666, and the river had turned red like blood, being hyper-realistic. I ain't such a huge fan and don't know so much about the Sonic stuff. I never fully understood and couldn't vividly picture what was going on as well as others. However, the story goes on to get freakier, darker, lonesomer, and also more violent. Just to note, throughout this story, it's written in first person perspective. Furthermore, there's one thing I want to vent. In the story and the name of the story, .exe is mentioned. Does anyone know what this means? If not, here's Google's simple description without going into so much random computer talk. .exe is the common file name extension for denoting an executable file, a program in the DOS, OpenVMS, Microsoft Windows, Symbian, and OS/2. .exe are basically either a good normal file that will open programs for you, or it can open viruses. Could this game be a virus? This whole thing could be a virus. If so, then someone made it, like Tom said. But what would explain the ending of the story? You decide. Hyper-realistic is mentioned a lot in there, as well as being mentioned in Squid with Suicide. Did this story adopt the idea of Squid with Suicide, or was it another coincidence that they both were successful stories with the same kind of detail? There was mention of an odd save file in the game too. There was a Sonic 3 type save file from a Sonic 1 save file. This related to Ben for me, as they both have odd save files. Tom describes there being a lot of music in it, so it must have been programmed in there by somebody. Tom's first mentioned song is Earthbound's Caverns of Winter song. So as the game finally gets started up, things are normal, like the game itself. Until seconds later, things seem too normal. In fact, everything's blunt and straightforward. There's just trees and stuff, like repeating backgrounds and the same expression from the character and walk. Much like Suicide Mouse, if I can relate to another story. Everything then changes like the game has finally begun, but not a Sonic game, more of a Hell's game. You could just choose out Tails, Knuckles, or Dr. Robotnik to play as, which seems very odd as you cannot play as Dr. Robotnik in the original version of Sonic. Tom comes across animals or enemies for the first time in the game, but they're dead. In fact, they're murdered, which is highly unusual for such a friendly, popular game. Tom recalls them perfectly as if he could see greatly, but the screen's so small, how can he see an animal's slit throat, or an animal's entrails hanging out, or eyeballs popped? You believe what's fact, and you believe what's fiction. Tom describes Sonic as some kind of monster demon thing with so much emotion, it's kinda stupid. I mean, why jump to such conclusions? It's just a game. The story isn't that persuasive if you think about it. Then Sonic likes to jump out at you, then he wakes you up. How cliched for a story. The whole story goes crazy, to you seeing Sonic, to Sonic flying, then finally killing Tails. Tom goes over the characters, but they all die. Sonic grins, Tom turns and sees something on his bed, and you're hanging off a cliff from there. Alright, so this story wasn't scary as others. I would have said the game was a coded program made with the game making software with a pre-made Sonic template, then stored as an exe file. I would have probably guessed that someone made the game, but the fact the ending was so unrealistic or inhuman made me think a little bit more. Was it a ghost or something demonic? Relating back to 666 part, Hell is mentioned in context 2 times throughout the story. If you want to refer to rat savers, there is a Dark Comet rat savers, which are infectable savers which we'll get into into your computer, and hackers can take advantage of your computer, play pranks, be evil, and spy. You can bind files and FUD them so your AV doesn't pick it up. You also need to crypt the server, then afterwards bind it with a picture file so someone thinks you're downloading a picture or even a hacked Sonic game, and build your server into an exe file instead of a bat file. Afterwards, infect either through a disk or hosting the link on Mediafire, and as soon as someone opens the file, you're a slave. I highly doubt it was done this way. Which way did it happen though? You comment while deciding for the new video of the Creepypasta episodes. Till then, Bluro says bye.